Well, greetings from Idaho. I've been here since 2015, having massive crimes committed against me and being abused by these people. I ended up in the homeless shelter, bed bugs, the usual problems with the behavior of people. Behavior of people in Idaho is really bad, actually. And you can't sleep in the shelters. And I have immune system problems, so it's very unsafe for me. People here will cough on you intentionally. People here will, if they see you wearing a mask, come up and cough on you. People have coughed through my windows for years intentionally. They coughed on me when I went to the library intentionally. That's the people of Idaho. So I've had a lot of really strange things go on, a lot of harassment from them. And at the shelter, my property was stolen. And I believe the former director was involved in that. I had a suitcase that had really important documents in it that I needed, and they just threw them in the garbage. This is a typical story of homeless people that you may have heard about from people having their tents torn down and stuff, just trying to survive. They could at least let people get their important papers and things, but no. It's a hatefulness that is a sickness in this country. I spent my life taking care of people, and I don't understand this kind of mentality where people enjoy hurting people like they do in Idaho. So it was really bad at the shelter, and the staff were a couple of sociopaths in the beginning. And one of them was targeting me because I'm a retired critical care nurse, and if there's a narcissist anywhere in the area, they're going to come after people that have that kind of personality, because we are truthful, we don't put up with any crap, and we will call out things that are wrong, especially if other people are being harmed. And they didn't want that to happen. They didn't want anybody to tell the truth about anything. So a lot of really bad things happened at that shelter. I finally found a room in a boarding house that was an old nursing home, and the room was untenable. It was too hot. There was some kind of a pipe that ran through it, over it, and it was too hot to live in the room. And it was filthy when I moved in, and there was poop on the walls, and the furniture was filthy that they brought in there too, and there were bed bugs. And I asked them if they were going to be doing rehab, and they said no. They started rehab within 2 weeks. And I had a guy next to me that was on drugs and knocked everything in his room over every night, all night long, slamming shit around and screaming and yelling "fuck you" at me through the wall. So there was a guy across the hallway from me too that would come home drunk, and there would be problems. So that was bad. The director was a problem, and the guy that worked under her would do things like knock on my door twice, and I'd say, "Hey, just a minute," and then he would unlock the door and come in. So that's not okay. And then there were a lot of other issues, and I complained to the board, and she threw me out. So then I was back in the shelter system, and I went over to the mission for a while, and it was crazy over there. And somebody came to teach about HIV, hepatitis, and STDs, and they asked a question of why more women are getting those, and there were some people that answered, and I'm a retired nurse, so I said, well, because the religious organizations are keeping the schools from teaching girls how to prevent those things from happening, how they can contract them, etc. And within 2 hours, they gave me a letter that I had to leave. And they also lied to the public about almost everything. And one of the things is that they were helping people find housing. They said, oh, we don't do that. I said, that's all I need is housing. And there was a lot of other crazy crap there, like a class on how to get a job. And I'm like, I'm on disability and I've gotten a lot of jobs in my life, so I don't need that class. Oh, you have to, or you can't keep your bed. The class was filling out a form to figure out what kind of dog you were. Well, it was just a waste of time, and I could have been out looking for housing or something. So the next thing I did is go back to the other shelter, and they were even more abusive than they had been the first time. But I did manage to find an apartment, and the apartment had a drug ring and a MAGA ring, and there was also a security contractor doing harassment on the property. The drug ring is, of course, drug cartel. The MAGA is, of course, the idiots and assholes of Idaho who like to hurt other people. And so they were doing noise campaigns and pulling fire alarms, slamming doors. There were leaks from pipes. All kinds of crazy crap went on. And then the contractor would be from the corporation that owns the property, because somebody like me that speaks up is going to be a problem for them, and they don't want me there. Because those corporations, they get loans for affordable housing and they use them for other things. And they let the property deteriorate so they can sell it later on for a profit. And then somebody puts really expensive apartments in, and then there's no more affordable housing there. There was other things like people's dogs pooping in the hallway, garbage just thrown in the garbage chute room on the floor, and dogs peeing on the walls. And people smoking in their apartments and smoking so much marijuana on the weekend I'd get high. People in the parking lot with what I call fake cop cars, these old Crown Vics, doing stalking and harassment with those. So it was a nightmare, and I would sleep during the day and try and go to the store at night, and there'd still be somebody that would stalk me. It was really awful. So I finally, they were raising the rent, for one thing, and which is what always happens. So I finally went and got a minivan, and I've been living in it for 6.5 years, being harassed, menaced, had my window bashed out, had a man masturbating next to my car, had a man pour water in my car, have had massive numbers of people come by and verbally harass me. A man went by my car for about 1.5 years every night and said, do you want a cock up your ass? Every damn night. I had people jump on my car and shake it, threaten me, come by my car in a vehicle and pull a trigger of a gun that didn't have bullets in it and click it several times. I had people park on the ass of my car and just sit there in the middle of the night, really close to my car, doing noise campaigns. They park and then they get out and they open every door in their car and keep going around the car, slamming the doors. And they also will sit there and rev their engines. And there's way more to that. But then the thing about the police is that they wouldn't show up. They didn't even call back most of the time. And I posted a lot of videos of me screaming things at them, like, you could show the fuck up and stuff like that. But they had time to harass me. They could show up and harass me, and they could threaten to arrest me for trespassing an old woman doing walk aerobics in the corner of a parking lot that's empty. That was the crime that I was committing. And there's way, way more to the story, but it's been a nightmare. But I'm pretty good at living in the car. I have a little refrigerator, and I try to eat a lot of vegetables. I have a little bed and all of that kind of stuff. And it's way better than being in the shelter. It's safer for me because of the immune system problems. You can't sleep in the shelter anyway. It's just not possible. I couldn't even barely take a shower because they would block me. The young people, the behavior of the young people here is really bad. They would block me from being able to get in the shower and stuff. So there's no point to it. And then they stole my suitcase. And I had a woman that was having sex with another woman in the bunk below me. I was on the top bunk. She was having sex, and the staff wouldn't listen and do anything about it. They had the same problem over in the family side. People were having sex over there in front of other people's kids. No, nothing was done. I do not care what people's sexual orientation is at all. I just don't want anyone having sex in the bunk below my bed. That was crazy. I didn't even know what was going on. I thought she was just shaking the bed, and the person next to me said, "Oh no, there's a woman down there. She's having sex with her." So there's a lot of shitty little things that the staff did to me too. And there's a new director, and some of the staff over there I'm familiar with. That they're not horrible people like the two psychopaths that were running the shelter before. So things might be better, but it's not safe for me. So what happened is Senator Corey Galloway wrote a bill to ban camping for homeless people and camping in cars. Her husband owns a business about a block from the shelter. She also wrote a bill targeting a new shelter they're trying to put in here, the type where people can stay there during the day. You'd think they'd want that. But there's also the NIMBYs over there in that area that have been blocking it. And at first I was like, well, I wouldn't want a shelter next to where I was living either, because, all the people. I'm an introvert. I don't want all the people and all the noise and stuff. But then I realized it's next to restaurants. And the building they're using used to be a giant thrift store. There was a lot of people there. So that isn't what the issue is. It's bigotry. These are the most bigoted, hateful, mean, bullying people I have ever seen in my life. And I have worked with mentally ill legal offenders who killed people, and they were nicer than these people. I've worked in prisons. Most of the inmates in prisons are nice people. It's the corrections officers that are a problem because of the Zimbardo effect. It is unconscionable, a lot of the things that go on here. So I signed up to testify at a hearing. They had already passed it, and then they had this secondary committee that was reviewing it. And the people that got to speak, after they wasted time intentionally, and I don't know if they just couldn't get their act together, which is another problem that goes on here in Idaho, or if they did it intentionally, because sabotage is another thing that they do intentionally here. I did not get to testify, and there was not one other directly affected person that testified. It was all people who worked for the homeless shelter, or people who were involved in being in a business and that sort of thing. And the police chief, who didn't really say much of anything, told stories that weren't true about what they do. And they passed it. There were two people that had morals and were able to understand words and things like that who voted against it, because a lot of the people here can't read. I have no idea what myself and other people are going to do. The mayor has not said one word. She did do some things during the COVID lockdown to put people in hotels and things like that. I've been in my car. The system doesn't pay a dime for me. I'm totally self-contained until Donald Trump and Elon Musk take our Social Security from us. And so we already had that stressor and a lot of other stressors going on because of the psychopaths running the country and the authoritarian government we're living under now. And then they did this to us. It's more than anyone can tolerate. But we haven't heard a word from her, from the mayor. She just posts stuff about parks, Here's a park, go to the parks. We're going to put this thing in the park. We're going to make a new park, and we're going to plant some sagebrush. That's basically what she's been posting about. She doesn't say anything. I asked her years ago to have a safe place for women to park. No response. There were religious leaders that spoke out against what's happening, but one of the shelters is run by a religious organization, and like I've already said, they were kind of nuts and abusive. They were very emotionally abusive when I was there. So I don't think there's a solution. Just hate. Their solution to everything is to just hate and otherize, like what they've done to women here, what they've done to LGBTQ, what they're doing to Hispanics. And there's farms here, farmers who need the Hispanics to work in the farms, just like in California and other places that have agriculture. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes any sense anymore.